guys, this video is for 2nd through 4th grade for June week 2. You guys have some different activities than our little kids this week. So here's our board. Our intro activity is you are just going to be drawing, having the kids draw what they want to be when they grow up. It doesn't have to be serious. They can draw any dream job, and then you can have them talk about what that would be. What is their plan to get to that dream job? Learning to dive, taking courses, moving somewhere, things that they could also be doing now. And then ask what happens when we have a plan for something. Does a plan make something harder or easier to do? And then I totally forgot to talk about what we're doing all month. So this month our life app is confidence, learning to see yourself the way that God sees you. And our memory verse is, here's something I am still sure of. I will see the Lord's goodness while I'm still alive. Psalm 27:13. Here's something I am still sure of. I will see the Lord's goodness while I'm still alive. Psalm 27:13. All right, and this week our story is about Israel capturing Jericho and the walls coming down. They circle the city for 7 days. On the 7th day, they blow their trumpet, and the walls come down. And our bottom line is God's plan is the best plan. So that's why the intro activity is kind of talking about their plan for what they want to be when they grow up. Then when service starts at 9 and 11, instead of using cards, we have index cards that you're just going to have the kids use. And what you're going to do is you're going to encourage them to build a house of cards by balancing them together. They can work together on their structure, so maybe have a couple of different groups trying to build a structure. And then you're just going to say, you guys had to come up with a good plan to build your house. So what kind of plan would you need to destroy it? That seems like a trick question because all they'd have to do is knock it down. But we're going to go to large group and hear about an unbelievable plan to bring down something that was very, very well built. Then you'll go to large group and hear the story of Jericho. When you get back from large group, one of the activities, so card towers was what you just did. Then the review activities are shout, trumpet, march, fall, and what's next. So here's shout, trumpet, march, fall. What you're going to do is you're going to use the questions below to quickly review the story as a group. So here's the review questions. And then what you're going to do is you've got some Jenga blocks on your cart. And you're going to put some Jenga blocks in you can split kids into pairs or groups of 3 depending on how many kids you have. And they're going to build a tower that will stand in the middle of them. Or you can put all of the towers in the middle of all of your kids and just make one big circle. And you're going to tell kids they're going to play a game called Shout, Trumpet, March, Fall. And when you give one of 4 directions, the kids will do what you direct them to do. So when you say shout, they're going to put their hands on their mouth like they're shouting something. When you say trumpet, they're going to form their hands to look like they're playing a trumpet. When you say march, they'll march in place. And when you say fall, they're going to try to be the first one to knock over their tower in the middle and make it fall. So you're going to call out the action words in random order really quickly, and you're going to have kids rebuild their tower each time someone knocks it over, and then rejoin the game once the tower is rebuilt. And you'll just kind of keep playing that, maybe just a few rounds. And you'll close that down by saying, so God's plan may not always make sense. Can you imagine how the Israelites felt marching around a city and blowing trumpets in order to conquer it? That doesn't really seem like the best plan. The awesome thing is that we can trust God no matter what, and we can be confident in God's plans even when they don't make sense, because we know that He is always working for the good. And maybe make it personal. Tell kids about a time that you had to trust God's plan even when it didn't make sense. And say, so maybe this past year you had to do online school and you didn't get to see your friends and family as much as you like. But no matter what God's plans look like in our own unique lives, we can be confident that God's plan is the best plan. And next time you have a hard time believing, just open your Bible and read the story of Joshua and know that even the craziest plans work out when you have God as your director. Then the other review activity that you can do is to divide your group into teams of 3 and explain that you're going to assign each group a scenario and they're going to act out their response in front of the other kids. So give an example. There's a friend at school who's having a hard time at home, and you know God's plan is for you to treat others like you want to be treated. So what should you do? So maybe your group would get together and act out inviting a friend over to play after school and let them know that you're there for them if they need somebody to talk to. So that's the example that you can give to the kids. Then you're going to go around to each group and quietly tell them their scenario so that the other teams can't hear. And then you're going to give the group time to think about how they would act it out. And maybe if you have some quieter kids, just give them the option of explaining their scenario to the group. And then call on each group one at a time to act it out. And then you've got a few scenarios written down here that you can give out to your groups. 5 different scenarios, and then you'll close it down by saying it can be easy to ignore the times that we need to think about God's plan and just do our own plan. Like give up, sorry, what does that say? Like giving up the piano and just pick up a new hobby, or ignoring a kid who's different from you and not listening to their ideas. Going with God's plan isn't about doing what is right. Isn't just about doing what's right. We go with God's plan because we know that it will be, that it will lead to the best end result. And we may not see what God is trying to teach us or what his plan is leading us towards, but we can have confidence that it will be better than we could even imagine. And maybe by not giving up piano, you would face your fears and gain more experience and get stronger and become a better piano player. And maybe by taking time to learn and listen to someone who's different from you, you'll learn something new and gain a new friend. So choosing God's way may require us to do something challenging or maybe even awkward, but we can have confidence that we're following the best plan. So no matter what you face this week, remember, God's plan is the best plan. Then for the memory verse activity, you're going to march and practice the verse. So you're going to read Psalm 27:13 out loud together, maybe practice the hand motions, and then you're going to tell kids to act like the Israelites and march around your small group area 7 times one way, then say the verse together, and then march around 7 times the other way and say the verse together again. And after the second round of marching, say it again. And let's see, for the older kids, time them during their first attempt and see if they can do it faster, although that could be scary because then they'll be a little crazy, but up to you. And then you're going to say, woo, I'm exhausted. I wasn't expecting that God's plan for me was to march 14 times around this room, so I need a little break. Have the kids sit down. And then to say, our verse reminds us that we can have confidence that God's plan is the best plan. And the last part says, I will see the goodness of God. So how have you seen God's goodness when you follow his plan? So maybe see if kids can talk about how it works out good when they follow God's plan. And say one of the amazing things about God's plan is that we get to be a part of it. And we're going to talk more about that next week. And then you have some optional discussion questions. When's it easy to see and understand God's plan? When is it difficult? What should you do if you're not sure that something you want is part of God's plan? Maybe think about it. And then just close down in prayer. So give each kid one of those index cards from the first activity and a marker, and have them write or draw something they know is definitely in God's plan for them this week. So maybe it's being kind to their brother or sister, listening to their moms and dads, being kind to their friends. And when everyone's finished, they're going to build a card tower with those cards, and then just closing in prayer. So that is it for this week, guys. Thank you so much for serving. You guys are just incredible. We are working to add more small group leaders to our big kids. But thank you guys for serving, and we will see you on Sunday.